as an angel of death.
Use that reaction.
Hello Tenno, or in this case, brother. I recently hit 500 subscribers on the channel and wanted to mark the occasion with a bit of a passion piece. You see, I really like Warhammer 40k, and the Blood Angels were my introduction into that universe. So I have attempted to pay homage to the Sons of Sanguinius and create a Blood Angel Rhino with weapons that are to the likeness of the 40k universe, for the Emperor and Sanguinius. This build will bring righteous fury to the enemies of the Emperor, while protecting his angel from the corruption of the Imperium's inexhaustible foes. Suffer not the Xenos to live. First up, let's look at the weapons. The choices are pretty obvious. The Trumner and its prime variant is a slow-firing, heavy-hitting automatic rifle with a large magazine capacity. It's big, sounds big, and hits big. Now, bolters from the 40k universe fire rocket-propelled explosive rounds. It just so happens that the Trumner also fires explosive rounds that does damage over an area of effect. It's not a heavy bolter, but we can pretend. The Trumner's secondary fire requires you to get kills with the primary fire to charge it up, and unleashes a projectile that ricochets off surfaces and enemies, exploding on every impact it does, doing big damage. For this video, I've gone for a typical viral heat setup and arcane deadhead, but mod to your preferences. Now, the two weaknesses to this weapon is its fire rate, which I've somewhat fixed with speed trigger, and its reload speed, but don't worry, we will fix those issues later on in the video. Next weapon is the Sepulchrum, which is essentially a storm bolter. I mean, look at this thing, it's huge. The description of the weapon even describes it as a large, weighty, twin-barreled pistol that delivers projectiles that explode on impact. It's basically a bolter, down to the recoil. This weapon definitely has that 40k feel and hits like an absolute truck. Again, build to your own preferences, but I've gone with a typical viral heat setup using Cascadia Flare for that big base damage buff. The Sepulchrum also has a secondary fire that you can use to charge up with kills much like the Trumner. The secondary fire locks on to up to 5 enemies and launches homing explosive projectiles. Next up, I wanted a Thunder Hammer, so to achieve that feel I went with the Jack Katag. The visual effects of this weapon certainly gives off a Thunder Hammer feel, and I've spoken a bit about how the bolters in Warhammer fire rocket-propelled ammunition. Well, according to this weapon's description, it's a jet-powered mace. That sounds pretty badass, and it sounds like something you would find in the 40k universe. Now, unfortunately, slam builds are getting a nerf, or may have even been nerfed by the time this video releases, but a slam build is what I've gone for, because my Rhino is an Assault Blood Angel. The slam build utilizes melee influence and electricity for that authentic Thunder Hammer feel, and currently, this hits like an absolute truck. Finally, the Servitor build, sorry I meant Sentinel build. This can be whatever you like, but remember when I said we would fix the fire rate and reload speed issues of our weapons. Firstly, Reinforced Bond will give you a 60% fire rate buff to your ranged weapons as long as your Sentinel shields exceeds 1200. And with the Nautilus here, that's very easily done. Then there's Synth Deconstruct, which is not only a great mod to use with Equilibrium if you want to, but also reload your weapons while they are holstered, meaning you will never have to reload, ever. And now, a true son of Sanguinius, my Blood Angel Rhino. First ability, Blood Rush, because Blood Angel and stuff like that. Second ability, the Emperor Protects. The God Emperor's divine light enshrouds his favoured sons, offering them protection. And then we have the Black Rage. Let out a powerful roar as memories of Sanguinius' final moments flood your mind, leaving you in a heightened state of rage, exponentially increasing your strength and damage output. Everyone is Horus, and everyone has to die. Lastly, we have the Emperor's Gaze. The Emperor's light is cast upon your foes, stripping them of armor while purging their heretical souls with righteous flame. This is obviously Ophanimized, subsumed over Rhino's 4th ability. Wordplay aside, this setup is very effective and does a ton of damage while being very survivable. Archon shards are unnecessary, but I do have 1 yellow for cast speed and 4 reds for power strength. You can choose to subsume over Rhino's 1 or 4 depending on what you want to do with the build. I know people like to use the augment for Rhinos 1 to get a ton of overguard, which is what I've done here, but it's not necessary. In fact, you can get millions of overguard by timing your iron skin to absorb a jade light beam, like you see here in the video, but it's your choice. So as I said, I'm using the augment Ironclad charge for Rhino's first ability. Each enemy hit by Rhino's charge will increase Rhino's armor rating by 50% at base, but is affected by power strength, which I have a lot of. The buff has a timer, and hitting new enemies with Rhino's charge will refresh the buff and adjust the armor value in accordance to the number of enemies hit. So it's a good idea to hit as many enemies as possible before you can cast Iron Skin. Nautilus will help with this by grouping enemies up. Why increase Rhino's armor? Because Iron Skin scales off of power strength and current armor value, as well as damage absorbed within the invulnerability phase at the beginning of the cast. Now you may think that Steel Fiber is the way to go to buff up your armor for Iron Skin. Wrong. With Steel Fiber, Rhino's armor is increased to 580. However, if you was to use health conversion, this would pretty much give you a permanent 1350 armor buff, totaling to 1640 armor for your Rhino. Health conversion will always be active because you won't be taking any health damage, and all you have to do is pick up a few health orbs. Health conversion alone will triple your Iron Skin, and when you combine this with Ironclad charge, you can get a couple of 100,000 Iron Skin very easily. Now there are ways to get millions of Iron Skin using Arcanes and power strength shenanigans with some blue armor shards, but I'm happy with what I've got, and I would rather keep my weapon and Arcane slots free for other uses. Raw and Ophanim is really ramping up our damage. Raw is giving us a big damage bonus to our weapons and abilities, while also allowing us to double dip on damage over time effects, essentially acting like a faction damage mod. Then Ophanim is stripping enemy shields and armor, rendering their defenses useless. But how much damage is this adding? Here's some Feyarch Spectres to demonstrate. Without Raw and Ophanim, yeah, that's going to take a little while. However, with Raw and Ophanim, good stuff. I had a lot of fun while making this Warhammer 40k inspired build, while also finding it to be very effective overall. Steel Path? No problem. Damage? Got it. Survivability? Got it. Acolyte? What Acolyte? And that is my Blood Angel 40k inspired Rhino. Thank you very much for watching, Tenno, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
I give up, no matter what I do, I'm not here, no. I try so hard to stop, I give in to every single bad temptation.